all of you who enjoy us join this webinar, and thanks for your joining. There are still friends coming into this webinar. We will start in 5 minutes. Now we will watch the introduction video about CTC and CP group.
Antibiotic, which can inhibit gram-positive.
稍等。Sorry, maybe there is some problem about this video. I will start again. Please wait.
Of chlortetracycline on the evening of July 21st.
我这边没有找到这个共享的窗口。
Of chlortetracycline on the evening of July 21st, 1948. Dr. Duggar held a meeting at the American Museum of Natural History to change the history of the medical community, and the first broad-spectrum antibiotic chlortetracycline in human history was born. Chlortetracycline, referred to as CTC, is a classic tetracycline antibiotic, which can inhibit gram-positive bacteria, gram-negative bacteria, mycoplasma, rickettsia, spirochetes, and some protozoa. Due to its excellent characteristics of broad spectrum, safety, as well as the good compatibility with other drugs, CTC has been used for control and treatment of a wide range of bacterial infections in pigs, poultry, and cattle. The indications including bacterial pneumonia, bacterial enteritis, infectious synovitis in chickens, reducing the incidence of abortion and shedding of leptospiroe in pigs, active infection of anaplasmosis in cattle, and so on. As one of the largest CTC manufacturers in the world, CPBIO provides CTC HCl, API, Citifac, premix, and farm care CTC soluble powder. The recommended dose level is 200 to 400 ppm in poultry and 400 to 600 ppm in pigs. Feed continuously for 7 to 14 days, or cattle to provide 10 milligrams per pound of body weight daily, approximately 400 ppm. CTC could also be used in combination with thiamulin, tylosin, neomycin, and sulfonamides to obtain synergistic effects. CP Bio ensures that customers in the market are provided with better quality and reliable products.
Okay, we will start our webinar today. Hello everyone, this is Cody and glad to have you all join our webinar today. We're gonna give a speech about the rediscovery of CTC's value in gut health and animal farming business. The keynote speaker, Dr. Liang, graduated from Kansas State University and now employed by CP Bio as a technical consultant. He will give us the speech online. If you have any questions, please leave a message below in the dialog box of the webinar window. So next, welcome to Dr. Liang Chao, and please share your screen and start your speech.
Okay, thank you, Cody.
You're welcome. You may start.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Liang Chao. In today's presentation, I will give the title on the discovery of value of CTC in gut health and animal farming business. There are three parts of my presentation. The first is the past and the present of the CTC. And the second is the latest research advance in CTC. Thirdly is how to discover the value of CTC in different markets. I hope that some of the information could be useful for your business. So, first part is the past and the present of CTC. This slide summarizes a brief history of CTC. As we all know, CTC was found or discovered in USA in 1948. Between 1970s of last century to 2000, CTC is one of the important feed additive, which made a great contribution to animal husbandry for decades. So from the beginning of 21st century, EU banned the use of CTC premix in feed, but it allows to use CTC HCl in both feed and water and drinking water under the guidance of veterinarians. In USA, CTC is allowed as a premix in feed under the guidance of veterinarian. From 2019, China bans the use of antibacterial growth promoter or AGP in animal feed, but it approves CTC, both premix and the CTC, as a therapeutic veterinary medicine. This slide, in fact, is a summary of the mode of action of different antibiotics. So in all antibiotics, they classify under C-Vol synthesis inhibition, nucleic acid synthesis inhibition, and the protein synthesis inhibition. So in protein synthesis inhibition antibiotics, there are two kinds. One is inhibiting 50S subunit protein synthesis enzyme. Another is 30S subunit of protein synthesis enzyme. So for many years, people already find that the inhibition of both 50S and the 30S protein synthesis enzyme at the same time turns out to be the most effective way to control respiratory and intestinal disease in food-producing animals. So the typical example of this is tyrosine or tumurin for 50S subunit protein synthesis enzyme, and tetracycline like CTC and deox or doxycycline, which inhibit 30S subunit enzyme synthesis. As we know that both doxycycline or DOX or chlortetracycline CTC, they are very similar in chemical structures. So they are 4 cyclines. The chemical structure are slightly different, although this difference make a big influence on their activity. However, as the antimicrobial spectrum, they are the same. And they are different in the absorptivity. For DOX, which is 70% absorption, while CTC is about 30% absorption. The advantage for DOX is better for respiratory disease, while CTC are better for intestinal disease. So this is mainly due to the absorption rate of the antibiotics. And on the other hand, for the safety concern, DOX is not allowed to use in poultry layer farm in many countries, which means it is quite toxic. This slide is a diagram for the animal physiology, which could explain why respiratory disease and the intestinal disease are same or are equally important, because animals, because they are not of pathogen contaminated in the air or in animal feed. So that will make the animal sick. And the intestinal disease and the respiratory disease, they are not separated. They usually affect each other. So that's why, in order to maintain the health of the animal, so the respiratory disease and the intestinal disease has to be controlled at the same time. CTC, in this regard, is the best antibiotics, which is effective for both respiratory and intestinal disease. As we know that poultry has many kinds of disease. And as we have found for many years, CTC can be effective for Staphylococcus disease, infectious coryza, and chlamydosis, and the mycoplasma, and the chicken dentistry. And for each of the disease on the different stage of the animal, so veterinarian advice can be consulted. Also, CTC can be very useful for control disease in swine. Although the CTC is not directly inhibit the virus, but the virus, there are a lot of secondary infection due to the viral infection. So like PRRSV, PCV2, etc. When this virus affect animal, so there are secondary infections of the animal. And in this case, so the CTC plus other chemical like toluene at a certain amount, both in drinking water or in feed, can be used. Like we said, all this can be advised by the veterinarian. Mycoplasma is very common in swine, and different mycoplasma could produce different symptoms. And like this mycoplasma hypophoria or MH, or mycoplasma halogenes, MHR, and mycoplasma host like MMA is also can be treated by CTC plus toluene or other antibiotics, both in feed or in the drinking water. In swine, there is a porcine astrocytes bodies disease, and this disease can be also treated by using CTC in feed medication at the level 50 of 600 ppm for 1 month. And also there are a lot, some of the bacterial infections like APP, which is actinobacillus, and also SS was streptococcus infection, or GP or glacial disease, and PM, which is Pustula multicidis, and also can be treated by using CTC plus other antibiotics, both in drinking water and in feed. And as for swine, they have clotis or dentistry, which is PPA, which is a porcine proliferative enteropathy, PIA, porcine intestinal adenostosis, PHE, proliferated hematologic enteropathy, and this disease mostly have diarrhea or severe diarrhea or enteritis in the pig. And we can also use both water and in feed medication with CTC. There's another special disease which is caused by a protozoa, and this okay, computer cannot go back. So the next few slides, I want to give you some introduction of the research on CTC. So this slide could be a review of our CTC 2.0 or Super CTC, which is 8 times faster soluble than ordinary CTC. So this quicker soluble or can resolve more antibiotics in the water could be very important for veterinarian when they prepare medicated drinking water based on in the farm situation, because in many local farms, the water quality usually is very poor. Again, because of this super solubility of CTC, so it can have a much higher tolerance for the hard water. So for instance, the ordinary CTC with different kind, so can tolerate about 2,000 units of hard water. But CTC 2.0 can tolerate 6 times higher. It's like 12,000 units of the hot water. So this slide, in fact, is give you some idea that CTC 2.0 is not only soluble quicker or resolve more antibiotics in the water, but in fact, it has a higher or 2.5 times higher bioavailability in the animal. So this study was conducted in Zhejiang Agricultural University. This study was conducted about a few years ago, which we observe the CTC efficacy when challenged with CRD or chronic respiratory disease and enteritis disease. And we find that the CTC premix and the CTC HCl both give good survival rate compared to the control, as well as the FCR. And this study, we have the medicated feed for 6 weeks, and the last week was without antibiotics. And after the experiment, we analyze the drug residue in both in muscle and in kidney. And we find out that those withdrew in 0 days, 3 days, or 5 days, which we can see the residue in muscle reduced very dramatically. Yeah, it's much lower than the safety requirement, because for the muscle is less than 200, while the kidney is less than 1,200. And in kidney, I think it's also much, much less than the safety requirement. So this means that using both CTC premix and CTC HCl are very safe for the poultry. This is a part of our ongoing study on the beef cattle, in which we have CTC together with other feed additive. And from these preliminary results, we find that CTC alone or CTC along with other feed additive can very effective increase the weight gain, the body weight gain. And as we know that the beef is quite expensive now. And in our study, we find that this, how to say, the trial was 56 days, and which give, how to say, which is give very attractive ROI as a 10 to the 1. Yeah. Of course, since this, how to say, in the beef application, and when they used, has to be take the advice of the veterinarian and also follow the local regulatory requirement as well. And part of our research is trying to study the CTC efficacy or sensitivity against the different pathogen bacteria. In our study, we find as for Staphylococcus aureus, we find in this study, we compare CTC and tyrosine. And we find that CTC has a better sensitivity than the tyrosine for Staphylococcus aureus. And about as for E. coli, CTC and the tyrosine about the similar sensitivity. As for Salmonella, CTC perform better than tyrosine. And for Pseudomonas, but both antibiotics, CTC and tyrosine, in this case, perform no difference. Yeah, I think this, of course, this type of study will be ongoing study. Yeah, we will find more and more of this kind of research to support our business. And because we find out in the market, there is no, in the market or in the poultry or even swine farm, the veterinarians or farmers usually use this antimicrobial strip to test the sensitivity of the antibiotics. But we find out commercially, there is no CTC antimicrobial sensitivity strip available. So because of that, we make our own CTC stripping sensitivity strip. So follow this protocol, and this is our first try, and we made 1 milligram per piece, per disc or per strip, and then compare with commercial deox, which is a 30 micro, not a micro. This is the how to say 30 units. Yeah, and also the tetracycline, also 30 units. And then we use typical indicator bacteria, Staphylococcus aureus, CMCC 26006, and culturing at 36 degrees Celsius for 18 hours. And we find out that CTC performed quite good, even though the unit is only one unit. Of course, this not necessarily saying that CTC is how to say, maybe like 10 times or 20 times more strong than deox or tetracycline, but it at least say that CTC is almost as good as or even better than deox or tetracycline. So we will continue this study and supporting our customers' business. And for the same study, we also have this stability study of our homemade strip under different conditions. So interestingly, we find out that this antimicrobial test strip even stored at 14 degree minus degree Celsius. The activity is dropped quite significantly, even after 4 weeks. So this means that even when people buying antimicrobial sensitivity test strip, so the storage, or the stability should be a good concern. Okay, so next part of my presentation is try or maybe have a discussion with you how to discover the value of tetracycline in different markets, because due to the time constraint or maybe the limited knowledge of myself, I can only give you some example to show or to demonstrate. But all of you, if you are interested, and you can use the similar or even better formula or method to discover the value of CTC in your market. This is the animal map, I would say, on different continent or different region. But in most of the case, I would say they all have swine, poultry, and the cattle, I think. East Europe, Australia, New Zealand, EU, European countries, or South and North America. But very significantly, in India subcontinent or Middle East or even Africa, they are mostly poultry. And as for Southeast Asia, so the aquaculture, fish and shrimp are quite a significant business. So that gives you a broad view of this animal distribution in different markets. This slide is taken off from Europeans sales of veterinarian antibiotics consumption report. This is the latest edition, and from this we can find that they in EU currently they use this PCU as the measurement for calculate the antibiotics used in the market. So basically this PCU is like the total meat produced in the country in terms of a kilogram, and also the total antibiotic consumption in a unit of milligram. And based on that, they have made this, how to say, like kind of statistics. And what they find is currently penicillin group accounts the biggest portion, like 31.2%, while the tetracycline is 25.8%, so accounts to the second place. And since we are in this tetracycline business, the CTC, yeah, so we play more emphasis on this. And this slide, I think, is quite interesting because they kind of collect the data from 31 European countries and then take the time span from, for the last 10 years, basically, from 2010 to 2020 each year. And also they, what I would say from this, how to say, statistics, is that the most of the country, the tendency of use the antibiotics are increased, as you see, or stagnant, or I mean, remain the same, except a few countries, for I don't know whatever reason, whether they animal production reduced, or maybe the economical reasons or whatever, they have decreased. But for me, I see that these antibiotics use remain the same or have slightly increased. So that means, I mean, for all of you are here, could be take the opportunity, you know, of this situation. And this again is the animal distribution. Let's say for how many percent of the antibiotics used in different food animal. And as we can see, cattle and the pig and the poultry are the, or even the sheep are the majority of the antibiotics used. Yeah, so let's say if you are a marketeer, so you need to pay attention to these animals. Again, this is also the European data, and from what I interested is that for all kinds of for antibiotics, they used in different form, like premix, oral powder, or oral solution, injectable products, or intramural products. And as we can see here, I mean, there are other analyses, but are very similar, is the oral solution accounts the majority. For instance, the tetracycline, they used mostly as oral solution. And the premix is about 31%. And the powder, the oral powder, or that called soluble powder, is only how to say 6.2%. Frankly speaking, when I look at this number, I'm not confused, but I'm still trying to understand why this is the case. Because for me, I think to make an oral solution, I mean, certainly is more convenient to use, but still considering the transportation or other things, I think is how to say is not so economical, you know. But now this is the case, you know. Most of these antibiotics are sold or are used as the oral solution. So for a marketeer or for people, I mean, in this business, should pay attention to this situation, you know, to look for how to find a business opportunity. Okay, we might have an opportunity here with CTC 2.0, and which is soluble more material or soluble faster, or even have a self-emulsifying property. So that's why I think we should consider how to apply this advantage to penetrate the oral solution market. Of course, people might thinking that, okay, Deox is soluble quite well, so we don't need to have CTC, you know. But please remember that OTC, well, not OTC, Deox, the soluble ability is good, but they are absorbed very, how to say, the absorption is much higher. So that means it can be very effective or effective for respiratory disease, but it would be not as good for intestinal or maybe for maintain the gut health of the animal. But as we have to remember, gut health or intestinal disease is equally important as the respiratory disease. And besides that, Deox has a major, how to say, disadvantage of its safety concern. In fact, many countries ban the use of Deox in poultry farm. You know, regardless of what stage, you just cannot put any Deox in your poultry farm. Finish. So that's why we think we should have the opportunity to have, I mean, not all, but at least some part of the market share in this oral solution business with our CTC 2.0. And the next few slides is taking Asia market as an example, how to discover or how to explore the market potential of a CTC business. This slide is the pig production in Asian countries, except China. You know, China is so big, so that will make the graph not ugly, but not as presentable as like this. And we take Asia market, and we know Thailand currently has about 8 million pigs. And also we know that CTC premix the market value, not just the potential, I mean, actually sell about 3,000 metric tons per year. So take this number as a base. I think is how to say, is a very, could say is a educated guess, you know, or educated speculation, or you say. So you will take the number in that line and use this. They have maybe like more than 2,000, no, not 20 million pigs, 22 million pigs, yeah, per year. So that we would say Vitaline would have maybe if they use CTC the same way as that in Thailand. So Vietnam will have 8,000 metric ton per year CTC premix. Of course, people might argue, oh, this is just how to say, it's just like not a dream, but it's just a speculation. But I think this is quite a logical, thinking. And we can do the similar exercise with other market. Of course, these numbers might be just a blue sky number because taking out any other affecting factors. But still, if we do the how to say business marketing, planning, this is the way to do it. And this is number in poultry in Asia countries. It's very similar. And we know that Pakistan has a CTC HCl. The market is like volume is like 20 to 40 metric ton per year. Okay, so this is the existing number. But we would say the potential market size of Pakistan based on the chicken they produced. If we just assuming all these 1.44 billion birds at a body weight of 2 kg use CTC. So the potential would be 56 to 174 metric ton. Okay, so that's something that for people in Pakistan, our Pakistan friends should consider. And similarly, if we take Pakistan experience, like 20 to 40 metric ton for the current bird or current poultry production. So Indonesia should have right now 50 to 100 metric ton CTC to HCl. Yeah, but if they use the similar, okay, how would I say, similar calculation like this blue, square. So I would say Indonesian we should have much bigger number than Pakistan. So for other, how to say, countries, we can also use the similar exercise to make marketing planning or to discover the value of CTC. Here is, just the example of CTC opportunity in Indonesia. Number one, during just the last July, yeah, okay, I pay a visit to the country and visit one of the farm and find out that they are tetracycline antibiotics, deox and doxycycline and OTC used in the farm. So which means CTC should have a good opportunity. Of course, they have some obstacles, people maybe not familiar or maybe don't have sensitivity test strips or whatever. But we think we have a good opportunity here since they accept or they already use tetracycline antibiotics. And number two is that we find the water quality are not so good in the farm. So as you can see, if the water solubility is not so good, so our CTC 2.0 should have a good opportunity there. And of course, each year, Indonesia have this Indo livestock exhibition, and the next year will be in late of July. Yeah, so I think we can thinking about or we can planning some activity in this show, like give a presentation or seminar or maybe farmers meeting during this exhibition. So I think this all I can say at this moment about, So the conclusion of my presentation, of course, anybody knows CTC is old products, and also probably agree that it made a huge contribution to animal husbandry. Under the new market demand or regulatory management system, I think it will still can continue to make good contribution to livestock industry. I think in the view of different situation in different region, we should give some attention to the products advantage of CTC and the R&D advantage of CP Bio to create greater benefit for animal husbandry and our customers. Okay, thank you very much. So here is my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Liang Chao. Thanks for your brilliant and useful sharing. And we collect some of the comments on, okay. We collected some question and which is asked by our participants. First question is there any stability studies of Super CTC HCl water solution under the room temperature? Am I clear?
Yeah, let me rephrase the question. Okay. Is whether CTC 2.0 in water stable? Is that the question? I mean, after it made solution, or either is a stability in powder form or the stability in the solution form.
The audience asked is in solution form, which means the CTC HCl powder is diluted in the water. Yeah.
Okay. So I have to ask our researcher about this particular question. I think they might have. I don't know. I think we can ask them whether they have already conduct or is ongoing or will be. So we'll definitely give an answer. So this is a good question, and I mean, very good.
Yes, and thanks, Mr. Sean, too, and he asked this question, and we will collect the information and send the answers to you, Mr. Sean. And then there is a second question. The second question is about any resistance information on using CTC HCl.
Okay. I think any of the antibiotics or any antibacterial substance after period of time of the use. So the, how would I say, the resistance will beginning to increase. So this is the phenomenon. So to avoid this, the guidance of the veterinarian is very important, because in the veterinarian practice, or even in the human pharmacy, is a rotation program. So you cannot just use one single antibiotics, or if you think it's good or it is cheap, I just use continuously for months, for years. I mean, definitely that's not the good way. So that will make the resistance very, very big. So to avoid this resistance problem, you have to rotate.
Yes. Which means the replacement of different antibiotics products. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, we got it. And is there any question on the Q&A area? If no, we will. Since the phase of the finishing of this meeting, and if you any more want to share to our audience, Dr. Liang Chao.
I, how to say, I really like to thank, you know, anybody who supported me to prepare this presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you to Dr.
And people in Pucheng and in Zhumadian, yeah, they give me a lot of report. So I would like really appreciate, or even Dr. Martha in Thailand and Dr. Tian Yong, Professor Tian, also give me support. So I really appreciate their help. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we all appreciate your speech, Dr. Liang Chao, and thanks for all of the participants in today's webinar. And if you have any more questions, please leave the message or contact us through the LinkedIn homepage or contact us through the official website of CP Bio. Thank you for your support and participation. Let's look forward to the next webinar. And it's the end of this webinar. Thank you all, and wish we could see each other next time. And thanks all of you. Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you, Cody. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, all of the friends. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. Okay, all of the participants who haven't leave this meeting, if you have noticed the notice and which evoked by the system, you can fill out the questionnaire provided by the system. And thanks all of you who participate in this meeting. Thanks.